in 1 more minute. All right, enjoying the comments. We're going to give it a few more minutes so everyone sort of comes in. I think we slowly have everyone coming in today. Really excited to do this webinar. Oh, Philippe from France. Nice. I have the same middle name and the same spelling. Thank you for joining us today. Nathan from San Jose, welcome, another teleporter who's joined us. Excited to have you today. So give it a couple minutes or so, and then I'm going to kick things off. And as people get going, I will just do a quick introduction. So today's webinar is all about Teleport 13. And Teleport 13 is our 13th release of Teleport. And it's a bumper release with lots of different features in it. We're going to be covering a few core features, but I'm going to go over all of the platform features as well. Some highlights will be automatic agent upgrades, simplified AWS setup, a light theme, very exciting, and more. So just an overview for today. For today, I'm going to just do a quick teleport overview. It's the small introduction to what this is. This won't be an introduction to teleport webinar, but it'll be a great place to get started. And I've split the Teleport 13 webinar into 6 different stages. So we have updates of the platform being just the core services and the CLI tools that we have, server updates, such as accessing OpenSSH hosts and infrastructure servers, cloud servers, and hardware, Kubernetes updates, database, Windows, and application updates, and a quick summary at the end. I'd also like to thank everyone who has helped make videos to contribute to this webinar. It's just going to be myself today, but I have 5 other devs. You can see all of their GitHubs here who have contributed videos and features to the edition. And then, Teleport is an open source, open core product. This feature release only scratches the surface for the contributions that have been made. Over 276 people have now contributed to the Teleport project, and I'd like to thank everyone for their contributions. So what is Teleport? Teleport is a secure access platform for your entire infrastructure. We started out accessing servers, and one thing that we found was that the way in which people were accessing their infrastructure lacked a few key things. And one thing that it particularly lacked was the addition of identity. And so people did not know who was accessing which machines when, and then the credentials were always long-lived. One thing that is unique about the Teleport access platform is it is identity first. And so anyone who's accessing your cluster is tied to a SSO or user identity. This is also true for CI/CD services with addition of machine ID. You also know the identity of which machines are talking to other machines. With zero trust, meaning that beyond the network perimeter, the only way to get access to your resources is through Teleport. We're certificate-based, meaning that everything is backed on X509 short-lived certificates. These have a few interesting properties which help with short-lived access. For example, you will see some examples today in which I log into the Teleport cluster and I have a short window of access, and certificates are issued and they also automatically expire, which is a very handy addition of it. Another core feature is just-in-time access. This also reduces the concept of zero trust, in which you follow the principle of least privilege. And so you only give people access to their resources for a certain period of time. And just-in-time access requests mean you can say, I want to follow the principle of least privilege and only provide access for a short period of time. And lastly, since Teleport is an access proxy, we provide complete visibility into access for engineers and machines, who's accessing what. We have a complete audit log, which you can ship off to your SIEM solution. But today is an introduction to Teleport webinar. We have a great video here, which we'll put in the show notes to just sort of go over the Teleport access platform from Phil and Alex. And this is a great place if you're really new to Teleport. I'd recommend getting started here. And actually, since we're getting started, I'm going to just do a quick pulse check to figure out where people are with using Teleport. And so I'm going to stop sharing quickly. and I'm going to share the poll, and you should be able to fill in, are you currently a teleport user? Looks like we have one vote, so it must be working. Okay, so it looks like we have some people coming in, mostly Enterprise Edition teleport users, and a few people exploring, learning. Let's give this a minute or two for everyone to finish. Get your vote in now. Okay, I am going to close the vote, but it looks like we have lots of customers here and a few people learning. So that's great to hear, and I'm hopefully going to cover a lot of features. Throughout this, feel free to ask any questions in the chat as I go through the different features. I'll do Q&A at the end, but I'm also happy to answer questions as they come up. So let me come back to sharing my screen. Okay, so platform updates. Platform updates is going to cover some of our core services. So for people who are existing Teleport users, this is around improvements to our auth, our proxy, our backends, our agents, our CLIs. One of the most important additions that we've added for long-term users is around automatic agent upgrades. And as we've continued to ship our product, we have had to, we've had some of our customers say it's been tough to keep up with all of the features that we're shipping. And we hope that automatic agent upgrades will be a feature that will solve this. And I have a video here, which I'm going to play, that will show you an overview of this feature.
Hello everyone, I'm going to present a update to Teleport and preview in Teleport 13. With this feature, we are trying to address two use cases, two issues. The first one is for customers with large deployments. They have a lot of agents and it's taking a lot of time, and they have to build automation to be able to update all their agents. And the second issue is for cloud, because we are maintaining teleports, the teleport cluster for cloud users, and we are updating the teleport version, and we want to update them to update the agents, but they have to constantly update, and we have to chase them for them to update. So in order to scale better, we want to just be able to push the updates to them. So life will be easier for them because they won't have to update, and it will be easier for us because we won't have to contact them. In Teleport 13, we will support two deployment methods, apt and yum installation on systemd distros, so Debian, Ubuntu, Red Hat, CentOS, Amazon Linux, and Kubernetes installation with the Teleport Kube agent parts. The feature was developed to be cloud first, but it's also available for on-prem. Just for cloud, you have really minimal configuration, and it's going to work out of the box. And you have Teleport Discover support. This means if you open Teleport Discover and add a new node in the UI, you will end up with the node automatically enrolled into agent automatic updates, which is not the case for on-prem yet. The UI integration will come later. And we are also not providing an OpenSSH package yet. This might happen next. The way it works, each agent has its own updater. The updater is a separate binary from the agent. We want the agent, let's say we push a broken version and the agent becomes broken. We want the agent to be broken, but the updater to still be able to update the agents. So this way we can push a new version which fixes the issue, and the agent will recover. We don't want to have to contact customers, so they have to run manual commands on all agents. Either customer for on-prem setups or cloud sets the maintenance window in Teleport, and Teleport advertise this maintenance window to all the agents. The agents are reporting their maintenance windows in a file or Kubernetes secret, and the updater is checking this secret. If we are in a maintenance window, the updater knows that it can try to update the agent if there is a version. The updater will try to update the version in two other cases, if the agent is unhealthy. Because let's say, for example, we pushed a broken version and updating a new version might fix the issue. So we want to update if the agent is unhealthy. We're not going to disrupt anything anyway. And if the new version is more critical, let's say we have a security issue which is currently being exploited, we want to fix all agents as soon as possible. So we can flag a maintenance as critical. Once the maintenance is triggered, we are going to look at the version. It's hosted in the S3 bucket. The updater gets the version and compares the version with what is currently running. If the version is different, it's going to use apt yum, or for Kubernetes, it's going to update the deployment to be able to update the system agent. The updater is triggered 30 minutes at most, so it means we have 1 hour long maintenances, and we at least one tick will happen during the hour window. We have one difference for the Kubernetes agents updates. The updater is also verifying signatures because apt yum are doing signature validation and Kubernetes does not. So we have.
Oh, apologize here. I meant to pause it here. I know this video is actually a little longer than I first remembered. So one of the key takeaways with our automatic agent updates is we have functionality to also update the agents, but also if there's a security issue, you can like force do an update. And there's a fail-safe way. I know the audio was a bit high here, so this one is also available. I'm going to share this one afterwards and probably just going to keep on going. I'm happy to answer questions for the agents. I think the other ones will hopefully be better and a bit clearer for the future videos. So moving on, for light theme, this is a relatively small addition. Interesting enough, when I first started to Teleport was naturally a light theme, but now we have the option. In Teleport 13, it is a default, but there is a drop-down which you can set light theme per operating system. One other addition we have here is TLS Routing Layer7, and let me share this video here.
TLS routing behind Layer7 load balancers. So the doc is getting reviews. This is my local copy. So you should expect some changes in the TLS routing migration page, and also here the TLS routing under the architecture section. So I'm trying to add some diagrams explaining how things work, but in Brave that now TLS routing multiplex single port mode, you can serve behind a Layer7 load balancer, just a single port. So here's my sample setup. I'm in AWS application load balancer. So the listener is serving HTTPS on 443. And the public certificate comes from the AWS HCM. This is my cluster domain. And I also have the wildcard for application access. So the listener is forwarding to this target group where it is in HTTPS protocol. And there's only one target group 1 needed. Okay, now let me show the my proxy YAML. So I have my auth proxy in the same one. So the multiplex is enabled here, and then the proxy service only need a single port and a single public address. So notice that we don't need to provide any certificate as well. The proxy can serve self-signed web certificate because all the public traffic coming to the load balancer will serve the certificate from the ACM. Now I've logged in through TSH. So the first thing, let me show the TSH profile YAML. TLS routing is enabled here, but also you can see connection upgrade is required, meaning that TSH detect that my Teleport cluster is behind a Layer7 load balancer. So for a regular setup when there's no LB, this should be false. Server access. Server access should be the same as before. You can do TSH, SSH same way, or if you want to use OpenSSH client, you can use the same config. It's the same thing as before, just when it's proxying SSH, it will automatically does the connection upgrade. Application access. So for cloud applications like AWS, Azure, GCP, they're already using a local proxy, so no usage change there. Same thing for the TCP app where you use a local proxy. So now if you do a app login on a HTTP app, there's some small usage change. TSH will no longer suggest using curl directly with teleport key certificate to talk to remote proxy directly. So now TSH will suggest using a local proxy, similar to TCP app. For database access, you can use TSHDB Connect, which automatically use local proxy on the background, or you can create a local proxy separately with TSH Proxy DB. The usage should be the same. For Kubernetes access, so we also need local proxy. So we implemented proxy kube, similar to other local proxy commands. So you can do this. For example, it will give you a temporary kube config. So you can just export it, and then here you can use your kube applications as normal. And now the traffic will go through the local proxy. So I'm not showing the web UI here because the teleport web UI, everything should be working as the same as before. TLS routing behind layer.
So just to summarize here, for people who are long-time teleport customers, you'll probably be aware that previously there was many port requirements for configuring setting up teleport. You would set up different ports for databases, Kubernetes clusters, Kubernetes. The Layer7 TLS routing just gets that down to one port. But because we're going through one port, this is why we have the client proxy. And so you'll see if you're running MySQL and you need to connect, you don't connect over, I think it's 3306. You connect to your local proxy, and then you get access to teleport, and this gives you access. And so for anyone, this makes deployments much easier. So you can just use an ALB, and then you don't have to set up a separate NLB. And also, if you're in your home lab, if you're using like traffic, for example, it just makes your configuration much easier as well. Teleport Connect is a tool that we use for, it's a client tool for accessing clusters. We ship this for Windows, Mac, and Linux. We actually have lots of Windows users using this since the native Windows tools are kind of limited. One of the other additions of Teleport Connect is it makes it very easy if you need to access multiple clusters and switch between them on your day-to-day. And one thing that we've made an addition in Teleport 13 is this UI for accessing and connecting, sort of our new wizard, which we hopefully make this as a quality life improvement. People who are in Teleport day-to-day makes your life much easier. So if you haven't tried Teleport Connect, it's available in both our enterprise and our community edition. I'd highly recommend checking it out and using it to access your cluster. Another platform update is we've simplified our RDS onboarding. RDS had certain requirements around IAM roles. Once you've configured this, there's a few options for making it easy to enroll those databases. You do still need to set up a sidecar and configure some IAM policies, but we hope that this is should make it easier for you to enroll resources. Another addition is Headless WebAuthn. We added this in 13. This is actually an interesting feature, especially if you don't have access to do a WebAuthn passwordless access on a host. We actually have a new channel in our community Slack called #demo, and there's a great video there from our CTO, Sasha. And you can see that he has started to do a TSH SCP from a host headless to another host. And he has this URL here. So he starts this on the host. He gets a window on his local browser to execute that command. And so you can transfer files between two hosts without having to go onto that host and connect to it. So I'd highly recommend checking this out. Headless can also work if you have SSO providers, which you can't get access to if it doesn't support WebAuthn natively. And there's a few other additions which make it very helpful. And Teleport Assist. Teleport Assist is available both in Teleport 12 and Teleport 13. This was launched last week, and this is our addition with GPT-4 to get facts on your infrastructure and generate commands and scripts on your behalf. So just to show this, I'm going to do a demo. Let me just share my screen again. Okay, I'm going to share this window. Okay, it's going to be better. Okay, so as with Teleport, we're going to log in with my GitHub identity provider. And now in this dropdown, we have a third edition, which is Assist. And Assist knows about your infrastructure, and it can answer questions all around Linux and your servers. It can generate commands and scripts for you. And so, for example, let's say if we wanted to transfer 2 files, I may want to create a 1 gigabyte file. So I'm going to create a 1 gigabyte file on staging boxes. And let's say I wanted to test this. It's thinking, because it uses GPT-4, it takes some time. And just to note, this is my own cluster on, and this is also community edition. This has found no nodes, which this does look like a bug, since this is a beta feature. But I'm just going to talk through it. So you can see here we have Teleport has the option to connect to host using our labels, and then also execute a command on my behalf. This won't execute since it wasn't able to find my nodes for some reason. As with all new product releases, there's always the demo gods may not shine lightly. But I have a few other examples here, like using netstat, for example. And you can see we have the user or the principal, which logs into those hosts, and it provides the context. So let's say you want to know about netstat for production traffic. It can also explain what these commands do. And we're really interested to get your feedback on using this to augment your day-to-day flow. Maybe this just keeps you in Teleport. You don't have to go to Stack Overflow to get the answer. And this feature is only available in our Community Edition and Teleport Team. Teleport Team is our new self-service edition. We don't currently have this in Enterprise, mainly for compliance and security reasons. But if you are an Enterprise user who's really interested in using this feature, we would love to hear about your use case and options. So next up, server updates. Chugging along here, I have a next video for Teleport Agentless supporting OpenSSH. Okay, hold on. It looks like this audio is not playing. So let me just change my options here.
Hello, my name is Fever. I'm a software engineer here at Teleport, and today I'm going to quickly talk about a new feature coming in Teleport 13, registered OpenSSH nodes. When you register an OpenSSH node, it will appear in your inventory, here in the web UI, as well as on TSH, and will allow you to set labels to those nodes, and so you can use role-based access control on them. So here I have already created a node resource here, file here, and I'm going to register it. I assigned a random UUID for the name to make it unique. I give it a label here, admin only, so I can show you that RBAC works later. I assigned its IP address and hostname, and now I'm going to register this resource with Teleport. All right, it's registered. So now I need to create a host certificate for this OpenSSH node that Teleport will trust. I'm going to set the principals for this host certificate to be the OpenSSH node's UUID, name, and IP address, so we can connect using any of those names. And then this will create a host certificate and write out and create, write it to Ubuntu host and Ubuntu host cert. All right. And now I'm going to export the OpenSSH CA from this teleport cluster, which will be needed for the OpenSSH node. You'll see why in a second. And now I will move all these files over to the node. All right. Now let's go over to the node here on SSH session on the OpenSSH node. And move all these files we just copied over to SSH. And let's cd there. All right. I'm going to ensure set the permissions to be more restrictive so that OpenSSH doesn't complain when its host certificates and CA keys and everything are to open. All right. I'm going to edit SSHD config and tell it to trust keys signed by this OpenSSH CA, because when you connect from the WebUI TSH through the teleport proxy to an registered OpenSSH node, this is telling the OpenSSH node to trust keys from this teleport cluster, but it won't allow anyone else to connect using random other keys, just through teleport, which is trusted. And this is just saying that the host certificate that we generated earlier should be used. Else, if we used, the default host key, then teleport won't trust this node. All right, let's go ahead and restart SSHD. Okay. And if we go ahead and refresh here, see this node here, and we should be able to connect. There we are. All right. Now, remember how this has this label here, admin only? Well, let me log out and log in as a different user. This user isn't allowed to access nodes with the admin only label. As you can see, it doesn't even show up here. Well, let's see what happens if we try to connect to it. Log out with the admin user. I'm going to log in as a user. Now, if we try SSH, really can't tell. If we try SSH here, it should fail. Yep, because the teleport user is not allowed to access nodes with the admin only label. And if we connect here again, you can see that this session recording will be available. Names.
Okay, so I'm just going to pause here near the end. And so one thing that is a unique addition of Teleport Agentless and this flow that we just saw is, while Teleport did provide access to OpenSSH in past versions, you wouldn't get the ability to see the servers in the Teleport UI or get the order log or session recordings. So this is a much more powerful feature and extension of integrating with OpenSSH on boxes, and especially for our customers who don't have the ability to install the Teleport agent on that host themselves. Okay, so trucking along here, on for Kubernetes updates. There's not a huge amount of updates I'm going to give you. Primarily in 13, we were focused on performance updates, improving our Helm charts. We also added distroless images. We switched our package manager to AWS's container image solution. And so there's a few options here. We build them all for like Linux, ARM. So distroless can be very helpful. And there's other tools that you can use to access those hosts as well. And another addition, if you are using Kubernetes and haven't tried it yet, I'd highly recommend checking out our Teleport Connect preview for this feature. Database updates. One addition is our RDS setup. I'm actually not going to play this full video, but I'm going to just talk you through it. This RDS setup lets you create the IAM policy that's needed to connect to those instances. And hopefully, if you are new to providing access to those users, this will make your setup and experience much smoother.
Hi.
Another addition is our OpenSearch. Let me see this one. OpenSearch is a database fork from AWS for Elasticsearch, and it lets you provide the similar access. This is on our YouTube channel, just providing an overview of accessing the OpenSearch integration. It's the same setup in which you're using the proxy to go through teleport to get access to the OpenSearch image. And as with all of our database additions, we have the ability to capture requests and see which commands will run.
Maybe a quick demo of
application updates. Teleport 13 added the addition of our Okta integration. This is an interesting addition to Teleport application access because as we've added more features, you may have seen we started off with just providing secure access to your Jenkins, new Grafana instances, your very developer-centric tools. Then we added support for cloud APIs such as AWS CLI or GCP. And the Okta integration is the addition with the Teleport 13, and you can provide access to your Okta applications using Teleport. And Mike has this video that's going to go into some depth about how this integration works and how you can also use Teleports as a access request provider to provide access to those integrations.
Hi, my name is Michael Wilson, and I'm going to be briefly going over the new Okta integration feature for application access that's been introduced as part of Teleport 13. Just to start, I've got kind of a bare Teleport 13 cluster here, where I've just got this singular application demo. This doesn't point to anything in particular. Now, I don't have the new Okta service running on this cluster yet, so I'm going to start it up. To set up the Okta service, you'll need an API endpoint, which is basically the organization URL you use to log in, along with an API token, which can be configured as part of the Okta administration panel. So I'm going to go ahead and start up the Okta service, and this will take just a moment. I have this pointed to a dev Okta instance, which doesn't have a whole lot on it. So if I refresh, I have a few applications that were populated from Okta, as well as if I go into access requests and I click on user roles here, here are some of the user groups that were populated from Okta. In the access request here, we're going to be able to use these to actually request group access. I'll get into that in a moment. But to kind of demonstrate this, I'm logged in as a local user, Teleport admin, but to get the kind of the full benefit here, let's log in as myself. So this user doesn't have any permissions on this instance. If it doesn't have any permissions to the Okta applications and Okta groups that were just synchronized. If it did on login, it would be granted access to those. So, whatever applications and user groups a user has been given permission to on login to Teleport, those permissions will be reflected within Okta. So going back to my local user that has kind of access to everything, if my Okta user that I just logged in with has access to this /dot application, then the Okta service would actually go hit the Okta API and grant the user access to that. However, since we don't have any built-in access here, we're going to request it. So first thing I want to do is just kind of show, here's our /dot application, which is just a simple bookmark application. We don't have, there's no people or groups assigned to it. And I also want to briefly go to the groups here. And we're going to be requesting access to this additional group. Also, just to demonstrate, I've got what would be the link to our bookmark application. If I go ahead and try to request it, I get users not assigned this application. Okay, so I'm going to create a new access request here. I'm going to go into the user groups. I'm going to request access to this additional role. And I'm additionally going to go in and request access to our /dot application. Okay, so my request is pending. I'll go ahead over to my local user who I've given permissions to go ahead and approve these requests. So I'll approve this request. And this will take just a moment. But if we go into our application now and check the permissions, I've been assigned. If we go into our groups, for additional group, you'll see that I've been assigned here as well. Now that I've got this, I can assume the role here, just using the regular teleport UI for role assumption. Head into applications, launch this, and the bookmark app works as expected and takes me to our /dot homepage. When the access request expires, this will be cleaned up as well. Just one more thing I forgot to mention. Upon synchronization, when the Okta applications and user groups are synchronized to teleport, there's a notion of Okta import rules, which can be set up by teleport administrators. And these rules can be used to apply specific labels to applications and user groups. So when I was mentioning before that when a user logs in, they may or may not have access, or when a user logs in, determining access to user groups and applications. This is done through Teleport's regular RBAC, which uses these labels injected by the Okta import rules to make further determination.
Okay, so that's a great overview from Mike for our Okta integration. Just a note, we use Okta internally, and I think one pain that we go through on a weekly basis is, following the principle of least privilege, but you always need to get access to an app. And the workflow for access requests with Teleport makes this a very smooth experience. And, this feature is in preview, but we're really interested to see how sort of DevOps teams and infrastructure teams will use this together to sort of really limit or also maybe provide a greater access to systems, but using access requests. One other feature that was added as part of this was Teleport as a identity provider. Actually, my last webinar was on this topic. And so if you're interested, go onto our YouTube and look at our archive. And I went over Mike about how you can use Teleport as a IDP as well.
Hi.
Okay, we're almost near the end here. We're coming to Windows updates. Windows has had a range of performance updates. For people who haven't looked at it in a while, in 12, we added non-AD Windows hosts. So you don't need to connect to Active Directory. But in Teleport 13, we added this new handy feature, TSH recordings export. And this lets you export the Windows session recordings for offline playback. And this is on a per session recording basis. If I come into my cluster and log in, I can give you sort of a quick overview. me log in. So I've logged in on my Windows host. If I play my host, get the calculator to start a session, and I'm going to exit. In my session recordings, you can see how my host here. We did add the ability to speed up the playback. The TSH option is available using the command line tools. So I actually have to come back to my slides. And then breaking changes. As with all major releases, there's always some breaking changes that I'd recommend you check before upgrading. These are in our changelog here. Some behavior around join tokens, CA rotation no longer has type all for advanced users. And so I'd recommend you familiarize yourself with these changes before upgrading. Okay, so thank you for hanging in there. I'm going to do a quick poll to summarize. So I'm going to stop sharing, share the poll, and open it up. And so off this overview today, let me know what features you're sort of interested in trying next. Okay, looks like we have TLS Layer7 routing and automatic agent upgrades. Looks like automatic agent upgrades is the #1. I'll give you a couple more minutes to think, and also 3 for the Okta integration. That's great to see. I'm really interested to see how people use this as well. Okay, and I stop sharing, come back to my slides. So a bit of presentation, boom. Okay, so next steps. You know, I'd recommend checking out our documentation for people who are really interested in the agent upgrade. There is a documentation for this. I might as well just bring it up. Well, actually, we also launched New Search. Hopefully, will deliver the results. And we have information here on the agent upgrades. You do have to be using the app or the Yum repo. I don't think I necessarily covered it that strongly. And then also the Teleport Kube agent chart will also upgrade. So great for Kubernetes users. This documentation page has an overview of what you need to do for the upgrades and an example of like manually running updates as well. So for people who are interested, I'd recommend checking that out. Come back to my slides. For the people who are new, try Teleport Team. If you just want to try Teleport Assist in your enterprise user, you can just try Teleport Team. You can try it free for 14 days. You know, download, try Teleport 13. And also, you know, we always appreciate a star on GitHub as well. So now we're sort of at the end of today's presentation. We have 15 minutes left. If anyone has any Q&A questions, please put it in the Q&A box or just in the chat, and I can answer them. All right, seems like we have a shy crowd today. I'll give it one more minute. People typing up their questions. Send them in. There's a Q&A box on the right-hand side, also the chat as well. All right, looks like everyone's... Oh, here we are for one. So Clinton, we have, when will Teleport 13 be rolled out to cloud customers? It is going to be rolled out on, I want to say June 5th. We actually have an overview in our documentation that says the dates. Yep, June 5th, 13.1. Another addition on Talbot Cloud is we have access for the hosted access request plugins, and so you don't have to host them yourselves. And then also coming is advanced audit log is going to run out too on that day. Okay, any other questions? All right. I'll give it a couple more minutes. Okay, I think I'm going to call it early. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I know we've had people from France and Texas, and it's still later in the day. Thank you so much for joining today, and hopefully this was a helpful, informative webinar. And if you have any questions, please join our community Slack if you haven't already. This is a great place to learn more about the release in real time. It's free to join, and all of our engineering team is there available to answer questions. All right. Thank you so much for joining, and I'm going to stop sharing and go. So have a great day, everyone.